Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the MeanGene Show here on iHeartRadio, powered by Podbean. If you haven't done so already, please make sure you subscribe to the podcast. You can download it from the iHeartRadio app, podbean.com, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. The NBA season is going to get underway on Thursday, which is today. Just 7 games scheduled. The first day back after a long All Star break. And on this podcast, I will take a look at the current NBA standings in the Eastern Conference and the Western Conference and how the most recent trades and injuries in the NBA will impact the standings as we move forward here in the second half of the season. So we're going to get started with the current standings in the Eastern Conference, and we will take a look at the Miami Heat. The Miami Heat right now are virtually tied with the Chicago Bulls by record. Both teams have a record of 38 and 21, but the Miami Heat own the tiebreaker right now, so that gives them first place. As a matter of fact, they have a better division record in the East, so that's why they have the number one seed there. As a matter of fact, you saw Eric Spoelstra coaching in the All-Star game. He was the coach of Team Durant, and Monty Williams was the head coach of Team LeBron, and Monty Williams coaches the Phoenix Suns, so they have the best record over in the Western Conference. We'll talk about them here in a little bit. But Eric Spoelstra, so I'm going to say this, congratulations for making the top 15 coaches of all time in the NBA. Now, some people, a lot of people actually disagree that he's on that list, but I agree with him being on that list because Eric Spoelstra has won 2 NBA championships. So I think, if you're going to be on that list, you at least got to win 2 NBA championships. So I don't know why they streamlined the list to the top 15 because there are probably more than 15 coaches, I think, that have won 2 or more NBA championships, if I'm not mistaken. But there is one coach that I know that won 2 NBA championships that's not on that list, and that's Rudy Tomjanovich, which is just crazy. But there's also one coach on that list that's only won one NBA championship, and that's Doc Rivers. So I'm a little puzzled by that. But, a lot of times these lists come up, and I don't know who make these top this, top that, the greatest this, the greatest that. I don't know. But anyway, I'm not going to take it away from Eric Spoelstra because LeBron James did put him on the map, right? He did, help him win those NBA championships. So I'm sure they keep in touch, and I'm sure that Eric Spoelstra thanks LeBron every day, for like, hey man, you put me on the map. But anyway, the Miami Heat is doing good though. They really are. And I'm really shocked that they are number one. Now, I don't think they're going to stay up there for long because the Bulls are on a 5-game win streak. As a matter of fact, they've won 7 of the last 10 going into the All Star break. The Philadelphia 76ers are the number 3 seeded team in the Eastern Conference. Now, the 76ers, were part of a big blockbuster trade, which I will talk about here in a little bit. James Harden, the beard, the guy with that long beard. You can't see his lips because he's got like so much hair underneath his chin. And, I'm jealous because I could never grow that kind of a beard. I don't know if I really wanted that kind of a beard, but anyway. James Harden, who played for the Oklahoma City Thunder at one time. Look James Harden up when he played his ball at Arizona State. There was one time he didn't have that beard at all. And he played for Arizona State in the Pac-12, went to the Oklahoma City Thunder, ended up with the Houston Rockets for many years. Then he went to the Brooklyn Nets. Now he's with the Philadelphia 76ers with his former GM, Daryl Morey. So we'll talk about that here in a little bit. But anyway, the 76ers are the number 3 seeded team in the Eastern Conference. The number 4 seeded team, Cleveland Cavaliers. Now, prior to the break, the Cavaliers lost 2 in a row, so not to really, worry anybody. They got Jared Allen. You guys saw Jared Allen in the All-Star weekend. He's got that big, like, Dr. J afro. Cool afro, kind of, like James Harden's beard. Jared Allen has the afro. I mean, it's like one of those cool 1970s type afro, but Jared Allen is pretty good. So the Cavaliers has to be the most surprising team because for a while, I mean, they stunk it up. LeBron James went there and they did well. He left. They came back and won championship, and he left, and they stunk it up. And now they're back. They're the number four seeded team in the Eastern Conference. Kevin Love is still there, and they are balling with a record of 35-23. As a matter of fact, they're tied with the 76ers. It's almost like a log jam there over in the Eastern Conference. The number five seeded team is just happens to be the NBA, the defending champions, Milwaukee Bucks. Now the Bucks started out slow, and I tend to think that the Bucks are going to get back up there. Okay, they are a little bit talented, too talented actually, to be in that five spot. But I think they're going to get up there. They have Giannis Antetokounmpo. If it's the Greek freak, whatever you want to call him. The Bucks are going to be fine. Okay, they're only, as a matter of fact, they're only 2.5 games behind out of first place, and this is why keep your eyes on the Eastern Conference because it's really going to be a lot of great basketball played over there. As a matter of fact, Philadelphia, number three, Cleveland, number four, Milwaukee, number five, all of those teams are only 2.5 games out of first place. So Miami and Chicago, they have a lot of teams breathing down their back. So how about the number six seeded team in the Eastern Conference is the Boston Celtics. As a matter of fact, Boston is like red hot. Prior to the break, they have won 9 of the last 10 games. So the Celtics are really good. They're 4.5 games out of first place, but this is what is going to make the second half of the season so exciting. And like I said, I'm going to be discussing trades here a little bit later in this podcast. But the Boston Celtics are your number six seeded team over there in the Eastern Conference. The number seven seeded team is the Toronto Raptors. Now, they won the NBA championship a couple of years ago, and they are, they actually have won 8 of the last 10 games. So they are really the second hottest team when you look at wins and losses in the Eastern Conference prior to the All Star break. So the Raptors, they still got Siakam, and they still have Fred Van Fleet, and then it's the eighth seeded team that we're going to talk about here. We're really going to talk about them as far as this big trade they made with the Philadelphia 76ers, and that is the Brooklyn Nets. The Brooklyn Nets. They are your eighth seeded team, and they are that's do not they man they have really been struggling. They've only won 2 of the last 10 games they have played prior to the break. That is expected to change because things are just happening in the city of New York, in the state of New York, with the lifting of some mandates there as it relates to COVID-19. Kyrie Irving, who you guys know hasn't been allowed to play because he's unvaccinated in the city of New York, which has a vaccination mandate there. So we'll talk about that here because that's a very interesting scenario there. So they picked up Ben Simmons from the Philadelphia 76ers, and Brooklyn. Kevin Durant has been injured going into the All-Star break. So that is your top eight teams there. Now we'll look at Charlotte at the ninth spot and Atlanta at the 10th spot because of the play-in. Remember back during the bubble days in Orlando, they introduced that play-in tournament. Like I'm still not a fan of that, but it looked like it's here to stay. So Atlanta and Charlotte, who are really good teams there, they have a chance to get in this play-in tournament there to make the NBA playoffs. So we'll see how that turns out. So that is your NBA standings in the Eastern Conference. So let's go ahead and look at the Western Conference. Okay, so it's the Phoenix Suns right now, the red hot Phoenix Suns. I tell you what, you're talking about a team that made the NBA Finals, and a lot of people thought the Phoenix Suns were going to win the NBA championship last year. I was not one of those people. I had the Milwaukee Bucks winning the NBA championship only after the Brooklyn Nets were eliminated, okay, because I thought Brooklyn was going to win, but I actually flew out to Milwaukee to see that series between the Brooklyn Nets and the Milwaukee Bucks. And when I saw how the Milwaukee Bucks was playing and just the crowd out there, the atmosphere in Milwaukee, first time in Milwaukee, by the way, and just it was just unreal. And like I said, and I know they struggled a little bit with the Atlanta Hawks and everything, but once they played, and it was just crazy though because it was a tale of two series when they once they faced the Phoenix Suns in the NBA championships last year. It just looked like the Phoenix Suns was going to win, and people were praising Chris Paul and this, that, and the other. And I hated to see Monty Williams lose because you were rooting for Monty Williams and Chris Paul in a sense because Chris Paul is one hell of a player and has done his time and one of the smartest players in the NBA. But man, I was feeling Milwaukee. And when they won the NBA championship, it just I wasn't surprised at all. But to see the Phoenix Suns right now just dust that loss off, and come back and look at them now. They are 48-10. That's their record right now. And they won 9 of their last 10 prior to the All Star break. And they're on a 7-game winning streak prior to the All Star break. So you talk about determination. You talking about resilience. I mean, this team is not playing around. There's another word I like to use, but they are not BSing, is what I would say. They are serious. Now, the unfortunate thing here, the Chris Paul injury we'll talk about here shortly. But man, Monty Williams, you talk about I don't know what Monty Williams is excellent. He's just a great guy, just a great guy. I haven't had a chance to meet him, and I'm hoping one of these days I get a chance to sit and interview him and talk to him. But he's just a great guy. He just so many fake people out there in the world of sports, but man, this guy is genuine and great. And I just can't wait to just have a conversation with him. Usually, I always get these guys on the show after they have retired and moved on. I'm hoping I can get Monty Williams on the show and do an interview with him. Before I actually got one of the coaches from the Milwaukee Bucks on the show last year in the middle of the playoffs, actually. So you never know what can happen here on the Mean Gene Show. So we keep our fingers crossed that we can get Monty Williams on. But anyway, they are your number one seed in the Western Conference right now. The number 2 seed, Golden State Warriors. Oh my goodness. You guys remember them, right? You remember the Golden State Warriors, the team that won those championships and Steve Kerr, Steph Curry, Draymond Green, and all of a sudden they faded off a little bit because Klay Thompson got hurt and things sort of changed. And well, guess what? They are back now. They are back. They are the number 2 seed team right now in the Western Conference with a record of 42-17, 6.5 games back. They lost 2 games prior to the All-Star break, 2 in a row, so I don't expect that to stay the same. They've won 6 of the last 10. Stay tuned for more Golden State. The number 3 seeded team in the Western Conference is the Memphis Grizzlies. Boy, I remember the Grizzlies used to just hang out down there in that 7th and 8th spot. Nah, those days are gone. The Memphis Grizzlies now. As a matter of fact, if you watch the Memphis Grizzlies, and I've been to that arena in Memphis, it's a small market town. Memphis is Memphis, right? I mean, what do you do in Memphis? You listen to the blues, you go down to get some barbecue, you sit there on the river, and Memphis is a small town. Elvis Presley, you go down there to the Elvis Presley mansion and take that tour. You go a little bit farther south to Tupelo, Mississippi, where he was born and raised. You get that little tour too. But it's Memphis, and now Memphis is on the map for basketball. Memphis, we talking about, right? We talking about blues, basketball, and what else they do in Memphis? Okay, barbecue. There we go. So anyway, the Memphis Grizzlies, they are no longer at the bottom tier of the Western Conference thanks to Ja Morant. I mean, they are balling. And this team, I used to get tickets to see their games for $28 and I was sitting on the floor. And I got friends that live in Memphis, and they are now they're fans of the Grizzlies, right? Back then they was like, "Hey, are you guys going to see Memphis? The Grizzlies play?" Nah, man, we ain't got time for that. Now everybody wants to go see the Grizzlies play, and their arena is packed now. Amazing. So they are your number 3 seeded team, and oh my goodness. Must see TV if you get a chance to watch a Memphis Grizzlies game. You know what I'm talking about. You basketball fans know what I'm talking about. They are the number 3 seeded team, and I don't think they're going to drop either. I think what you see right now, Phoenix number 1, Golden State number 2, Memphis number 3, I don't really think it's going to change. Now, Memphis, the number 4 seeded team is Utah Jazz. They might flip flop. It just depends. But Donovan Mitchell, I think, is out, injured a little bit. So I don't know. Memphis might hold on to that number 3 spot. But anyway, great team. As a matter of fact, they have won 8 of their last 10 prior to the All-Star break. So I just see that streak continuing to improve, and Memphis will be a team that will go deep in the playoffs once it starts. The number 4 team is the Utah Jazz with a record of 36-22. By the way, the Memphis record is 41-19. Utah Jazz 36-22. Memphis is 8 games out of first place. Golden State 6.5 games behind the Phoenix Suns, which could change, by the way. The number 5 seed in the Western Conference is the Dallas Mavericks. Now, the Mavericks just was involved in a big trade we'll talk about here in a little bit. 35-24. They're on a 2-game win streak there, and they won 7 of their last 10 prior to the All-Star break. The number 6 seeded team is the Denver Nuggets. Now, Denver and Dallas, man, they're just always right there, either in that 5, 6, or 4, 5. They're never going anywhere. The Denver Nuggets and the Dallas Mavericks will always be in the playoffs. Now, how far they go is a different story. You know, they may not, probably a first round exits, but they're good enough to take you to the brink of elimination. You know, they're good enough to take you to a 7-game series, which can wear you out, you know, depending on who your next opponent is in the NBA playoffs. But man, they're good. You got Luka Doncic, and then you got the Joker. You just got 2 good players on these teams, and that's why the Western Conference is really exciting to see. So you got the Denver Nuggets right there and the Dallas Mavericks. So Denver, the 6 seed, Dallas, the 5 seed, and they both are on win streaks there. The Denver Nuggets was on a 3-game win streak prior to the All-Star break, and they've won 6 of their last 10. Now, this team here, the 7th seed in the Western Conference, the Minnesota Timberwolves. I saw this coming a long time ago. I saw it. And, oh my goodness, shame on the Lakers for allowing this to happen. The Minnesota Timberwolves are good. They've won 7 of their last 10. Karl Anthony Towns, a big man, won the 3-point contest. Did you see that during All-Star weekend? The Timberwolves are good. You got D'Angelo Russell, who the Lakers used to have, right? And this team is just good. This team is so freaking good. And I do expect them to be in the playoffs, and I do expect them to be a threat to some people. I don't think they are going to be an easy out for anyone in the NBA playoffs. And I think, your number 1 seed plays your 8 seed, your number 2 seed plays the 7 seed. So I would love to see the Golden State Warriors and the Minnesota Timberwolves in the first round of the NBA playoffs, because if the playoffs were started today, that's what you would get. And, ooh, boy, I tell you, I can't wait. I cannot wait. And I will definitely be on the road for some NBA playoffs this year. Okay, why don't you join me? Because it's going to be exciting. All right, your 8th seeded team is the Los Angeles Clippers. Ha! You thought I was going to say Lakers, didn't you? Wrong. You're wrong again. Tell mama you're wrong, son. You remember that movie? The Water Boy? Tell mama she wrong, boy. Nope, it's the Los Angeles Clippers, not the Lakers. The Clippers somehow managed to get the 8th seed, and that may not change, folks. The Lakers are not in the top 8. The Lakers are not in the top 8 with LeBron James, Russell Westbrook, Anthony Davis, Dwight Howard. It's the Clippers. The Clippers with a record of 30-31. This is really bad. You don't even want to know what the Lakers' record is. If the Clippers have a record of 30-31 and they are your 8th seeded team, then what is the Lakers' record? And where are the Lakers in the Western Conference then? Well, they're number 9. They're number 9 with a record of 27-31. They have won 3 of their last 10 games going into the All-Star break, the Los Angeles Lakers. So if the playoffs started today, they would be in that play-in tournament. And I don't know. I don't think they get in. They don't get in. They don't get in because Anthony Davis is hurt, and we are going to talk about the injuries here in a minute. Well, we're going to talk about the trades first. We're going to talk about the injuries. The Lakers don't get in. And then the ninth spot, well, the Lakers in the ninth spot. The 10th spot is the Portland Trailblazers because the tenth spot also gets to be part of this play-in tournament, which I think is ridiculous. I think the top 8 teams have played well enough to earn the top 8 spots. It's been that way for years. And if you suck at 9 and 10, you don't deserve to be in the playoffs. So anyway, that is the standings. And oh my goodness, the Lakers are 27-31. So I'm sorry. And it hurts me more than it hurts you because I'm a Laker fan. I'm a Laker fan. Okay, so I believe I'm having to hold all of the words that I really want to say because you might have your kids listening to this podcast and they might want to be a broadcaster or something one day. So I got to keep it professional here. But you don't even know what I really want to say right now about the Los Angeles Lakers. So okay, let's start with we'll start with the trades first. Okay, we'll start with the trades, the recent trades. So the NBA trade deadline was February 10th, just in case you missed it. And I don't want you to be shocked when you see some of these players on a different team because I know it's been a long time. All right, remember after the trade, then came the All-Star break. So once they start playing again here tonight and over the next few days, you're gonna be like, whoa, when did he go to that team? I don't know. Whoa, what is he doing over there? All right, so we're gonna start with the Nets trade. So the Nets traded James Harden to the 76ers for Ben Simmons. That was big. So there were some other pieces to that, but those are the big ones. The Brooklyn Nets traded James Harden to the 76ers for Ben Simmons. So Ben Simmons is now with the Nets, okay? And James Harden is now with the 76ers, which should help both teams. It's going to be interesting. Now, I really think the Nets got the better part of that trade because they also picked up Seth Curry, which is the brother of Steph Curry, and they picked up Andrew Drummond, which is a pretty good damn center, and I think they picked up some future draft picks. So I think the Nets in the long run got the better deal, but it's all about what have you done for me lately? And Doc Rivers, he's got to earn that top 15 coach of all time, right? Got to get another championship. The 76ers are going to try to make a serious run here and try to get it done with James Harden. All right, the Sacramento Kings, Marvin Bagley was traded to the Detroit Pistons. LA Clippers, Serge Ibaka traded to the Milwaukee Bucks in a 4-team trade. So the Kings are going to get Josh Jackson and Trey Lyles from the Pistons, and the Clippers are going to get Simi Ojeleye and Rodney Hood from the Bucks. And the Bucks are also going to get 2 future second-round picks and some cash. I always want to know what that cash is like. So how does that take place? I understand the picks, but how is the cash delivered? Is it like is it like a check? They write a check, say here. I don't know. That part I've always wondered. What's the cash? When is the cash given, and how much is the cash? Because I know all of these trades have to, be even. So that's always interesting. All right, the Boston Celtics traded guards Josh Richardson, Romeo Langford, and a first-round pick to the Spurs for guards Derek White. Torrey Craig is going back to the Phoenix Suns. Remember, he used to play with them. The Pacers are sending the veteran forward to the Suns for 21-year-old big man Jalen Smith. The Washington Wizards traded Montrezl Harrell. You remember him? He used to be with the Lakers. They traded Montrezl Harrell to the Charlotte Hornets. The Hornets will be sending Washington Ish Smith, Vernon Carey, and a second-round pick. The Suns will be getting Aaron Holiday from the Wizards. Holiday will give the Suns a little bit more power at the guard position. Now, remember earlier I stated they made a deal with Indiana to bring back veteran forward Torrey Craig. Chris Porzingis was traded from the Dallas Mavericks to the Washington Wizards for Spencer Dinwiddie. I like Dinwiddie. Now, he was balling at one time in Brooklyn, him and D'Angelo Russell. That was before they got Durant and all that other stuff. So the Boston Celtics traded Dennis Schroeder, Enes Freedom, to the Houston Rockets for big man Daniel Tice. Now, the Rockets will waive Freedom. And if you guys are not familiar with Enes Freedom, well, Freedom used to go by the name of Enes Kanter. Dennis Schroeder is now on his 4th team in 3 years. Wow. Okay, that starts to say something about you when when you get traded a lot like that. So the Lakers didn't make any trades, couldn't find any trade partners. We're talking Westbrook. There was a lot of rumors out there about Westbrook. What's going to happen with Westbrook? A couple of days ago, LeBron James had said something about, he wants to play with his son at some point in time before he retires. Can't really blame him. Makes sense, to be able to, LeBron's getting up there in age. His son is in high school. He's going to, who knows, he may not go to college. He might, or go to college for a year. He might go and go right to the NBA and play with his father. I mean, that would be cool to see. What does this mean for the Lakers, though? LeBron said, he wants to make that happen, and if his son plays with the Lakers, cool. But wherever his son goes, LeBron wants to be there. What does that mean for the Lakers and their future? And this is something Lakers management has to think about. This man says, hey, I want to play with my son wherever he ends up, and that may not be in LA. It could be somewhere else. So the Lakers got some decisions to make. I also want to hear from Lakers GM Rob Pelinka, Lakers owner Jenny Buss. I really think they owe Laker fans some sort of communication. What the hell is going on with this team? Laker fans are spending lots of money to go to these games to see the Lakers get the breaks beat off them by other teams. It just doesn't matter. And I watch every game. I don't care. I'm going to watch it. I'm going to watch and see how they win. I'm going to watch and see how they lose. And I think there's just no expectation anymore, at least from me. But I think they owe the fans something. This is as quiet as I've ever seen the management from the Lakers. Magic Johnson, believe it or not, is no longer part of Laker management now, and a lot of people still think Magic is like this major spokesperson for the Lakers. No, not anymore. Remember, Magic, he wasn't fired, but they parted ways. Him and Jenny Buss and him and Rob Pelinka, they just were not on the same page. Magic will always be the face of the Lakers. And if you go to Crypto.com Arena, formerly known as Staples Center, his statue is out there. He's always going to be part of the Lakers history. But to see that they are no longer, that communicating, that's just, it's heartbreaking because, man, at one particular time, man, things were just great there. And I don't know. I don't know what direction that organization is going in, but I just think they owe their fans and something. We shouldn't have to read about things or hear about things or assume things with this team. So anyway, that's just my take. Okay, we'll look at some injuries here, and injuries and or COVID-19 issues. That's what I wrote in my notes. I said that because of the Kyrie Irving situation in the city of New York with its vaccination mandate. Kyrie Irving is not injured. Okay, he's just a victim of politics because remember, he's not vaccinated, and that's by his choice, right? Which prevents him from playing or practicing at home in Brooklyn. Think about this. It's really unfair when other unvaccinated NBA players are allowed to play in the city of New York. That's other NBA players that are unvaccinated that play on other teams that visit when they are playing the Brooklyn Nets. So go figure. I think this is going to change real soon because COVID-19 numbers are once again on the decline and many mandates are being lifted. This should be huge for the Brooklyn Nets and Kyrie Irving. So Net fans are waiting to see how Ben Simmons, Kevin Durant, and Kyrie Irving will work out in Brooklyn, which I think is going to be good. So remember what I was saying earlier, they're in that 8th spot, and I think they're going to move up. I really do. We didn't see Harden, Irving, and Durant play but 15 to 16 games together. And that it just didn't work out. But I think you might see something here with these three. So watch out. Don't think they're going to stay in that 8th spot. The Nets are going to be there. You're going to see the Nets, the 76ers, and the Milwaukee Bucks, the East. So I just mark my word. That's what I'm going to say. The Chris Paul had a thumb injury. That could be a problem for the Phoenix Suns, but they still have Devin Booker and Monty Williams to get them through this, Money, the coach, and hopefully this thumb injury for Chris Paul will will not last longer than the 6 to 8 weeks that they're saying right now, which just happens to fall right at the time of the NBA playoffs. Not having Chris Paul out there could really hurt the Phoenix Suns, and they have a nice little lead, 6.5 lead over the Golden State Warriors right now. But man, keep an eye on that. And speaking of the Golden State Warriors, you got the center James Wiseman. Now he's actually improving with that knee injury. Could be back for the playoffs. Got Klay Thompson back. And as a matter of fact, he's been getting a lot of encouragement from Klay Thompson, who's been through injuries, with that back-to-back injuries that sidelined him for almost 2 seasons. And then you got journeyman Iguodala. He's expected to be back in March, and he's been shooting around with the team quite a bit. And he also had a knee injury. Then you got Draymond Green expected to be back in about 3 to 4 weeks. So, man, the Golden State Warriors, if they can get all these players back, I tell you what, they're going to get close to getting first place in the Western Conference standings. I mean, just it's going to be close. It's going to be very close. But I still think the Phoenix Suns got enough horsepower to maintain. And looking at the Lakers, Anthony Davis, he's going to spend a few more weeks on the sidelines after twisting his ankle in the Los Angeles Lakers 106-101 victory over the Utah Jazz just a few days before the All-Star break. And after undergoing an MRI, the team announced Davis has been diagnosed with a mid-foot sprain and will be reevaluated in 4 weeks. So all I can say at this point is stay tuned for some exciting NBA basketball down the stretch. Keep your eyes on the Milwaukee Bucks, the Brooklyn Nets, and the Golden State Warriors in May. It's going to be an exciting run for the NBA championship. I would certainly be back once the playoffs begin, so stay tuned. Hope you enjoyed the show. Make sure you join me for the next Mean Gene Show here on iHeartRadio, powered by Podbean.